Every evening at exactly 9:47 p.m., the noise began. It came from the apartment directly above, the scrape of chairs on the floor. Heavy, rhythmic footsteps, and a television turned just a little too loud. For Daniel, it was pure torture. After working long, exhausting hours, he treasured the quiet of the night. This noise felt personal, like a direct invasion of his sanctuary. At first, Daniel tried everything he could think of. He banged on the ceiling with the end of a broom. He wrote a polite note and slid it under the door, then a second one that was far less polite. He complained to the building manager, hoping for some official intervention, but nothing changed. In fact, if anything, the noise seemed to get even louder, as if it were mocking his growing frustration. Each night, Daniel would lie in bed, his jaw clenched tight, replaying angry, imaginary conversations in his mind. The neighbors should be more considerate. People should respect each other's space. His own thoughts started to feel louder and more disruptive than the actual footsteps from above. He was trapped in a cycle of anger and resentment, and it was draining him completely. One evening, feeling utterly exhausted and more irritated than ever, Daniel decided to go for a walk to cool off. The city air was cool on his skin, but his mind was still racing. He passed a small park and saw an elderly man sitting calmly on a bench. The man's eyes were closed, and he was breathing slowly and deeply. Seemingly unfazed by the constant roar of traffic rushing by on the nearby street, Daniel couldn't help himself. He walked over, his frustration spilling out. "How can you just sit there?" he asked, a sharp edge to his voice. "With all that noise?" The old man opened his eyes and offered a gentle, knowing smile. "The noise is here," he said, tapping a finger to his ear. "But the suffering," he continued, placing a hand over his heart. "The suffering is here." Daniel frowned, confused. "So what? I'm just supposed to accept it? Let my neighbor walk all over me?" The man shook his head slowly. "Acceptance is not about liking something you don't like. It's about seeing clearly where your peace truly lives. You cannot control the world outside, but you can choose how you respond to it." The old man's words stuck with Daniel. That night, as 9:47 p.m. approached, he didn't reach for the broom. Instead, he sat on the edge of his bed, closed his eyes, and just waited. The noise started right on schedule. Immediately, his mind rushed to fight it. The familiar thoughts came flooding in. Asterisk, this shouldn't be happening. It's so unfair. Asterisk, but this time, instead of grabbing onto those thoughts, he just noticed them. He watched them appear in his mind, and then he let them pass, like clouds drifting across the sky. The footsteps continued. The television murmured. But underneath it all, his own breathing began to soften and deepen. And in that moment, for the very first time, Daniel realized something startling. The sound itself had not changed at all. The footsteps were just as loud, but his internal struggle with the sound, his resistance to it, had started to change. That was the source of his misery. Night after night, he practiced this new approach. It wasn't easy. Some evenings were much harder than others. There were nights he failed completely, grabbing the broom in a fit of rage or shouting into his pillow. But slowly, gradually, the noise began to lose its power over him. It started to blend into the background of life, becoming just another sound in the city, like the gentle patter of rain against the window or the distant wail of a siren. It was just there. It no longer defined his evenings. A few weeks later, Daniel ran into his neighbor in the hallway. It was the first time they had ever spoken face to face. She was a young woman with a tired but friendly smile. "Hey," she said, looking a bit sheepish. "I just wanted to apologize if I'm ever loud. I work late shifts as a nurse, and sometimes I don't realize how much the sound carries when I get home." Daniel looked at her, and a genuine smile spread across his face. "It's okay," he said, surprised to find that he truly, honestly meant it. There was no anger, no resentment, just a simple human connection. That night, the noise came again at precisely 9:47 p.m. The familiar thuds and murmurs filled the space. And for the very first time, Daniel slept peacefully through it all. The lesson he learned was profound. True silence isn't the absence of all sound. True peace is the absence of our resistance to what is. It's a powerful shift in perspective that can change everything, not by changing our circumstances, but by changing ourselves. What noise in your life are you resisting? Maybe the key isn't to make it stop, but to change how you listen. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more content that can help you find peace in a noisy world.